Oh my God, hi. Welcome back to another episode of the Unfuck Yourself podcast. We are continuing this series of being seen, standing out, earning more in your career, how to access the hack for your creator field to make that happen, and the source truth of it all. I'm really excited for this second episode of this series because this is probably going to be a two-parter because we're about to go into some things that could be actually highly triggering. I know you're like, Allie, how could there possibly be a trigger warning on a podcast episode about creation and manifesting and getting your creator field right? You're going to see why in a second. So I'm thinking of making this a two-parter and making it like episode 2 part 1, episode 2 part 2, because the first part we're going to need a second to let it sink in to then allow the shifts and really, really cool empowerment that comes from that. What I'm about to tell you in this episode might have your whole world come crashing down, but I promise you're going to feel better after the fact, okay? So don't hate me at first, and most importantly, do not shoot the messenger because I don't make the rules, okay? This is just the source truth. And trust me, when I learned the source truth, I also got highly annoyed and highly triggered, and my whole world as well also came crashing down. But then about 10 minutes after that, I was like, holy fuck, knowing this information gives me an edge in the world and gives me like a whole other level of power and complete control over my reality than I even thought and felt that I had before. So let me preface this with, you're going to want to probably fight me. And I would want to fight me too, because again, it's not me telling you this, it is source information. And I wanted to fight the source information as well. So I get it. I understand. See if you can sit there and let it marinate. And that's why it's going to be a two-parter. I'm going to like kind of leave you on a little bit of an opportunity to marinate and let this soak in. And then we'll go into part 2 of how to use this information to insanely benefit and empower you. Now, one more thing. What I'm about to go into, again, it might feel like your whole world's crashing down on you, but I would not tell you anything that I don't have an even better way for, okay? When I realized this, I took even more radical control and responsibility over my life, and that is when I got an even stronger grip on my career and on my finances, and nothing has dipped ever since, and I have had complete control over my creator field once I understood and fully accepted this source truth. So today we are diving in to the difference between manifesting and a soul plan. So a soul plan and actual creation and manifestation are two different things. You're going to hear me go back and forth between the word creation and manifestation. Those words are interchangeable, okay? So kind of the same thing in my brain. When I say either one, I'm talking about the same thing. So we're going to be diving in today why others seem to manifest what they want really, really just easily. They're not even really thinking about it, but you feel like you are constantly falling short. And I can tell you from my own life experience and from so many people that I have worked with, there's this insane frustration when you look around and you see other people just easily getting what they want in life. And you're like, wait a minute, they can't be doing all the spiritual work I'm doing. Like, how are they getting what they want? And I'm over here doing all of this work on myself, and it seems like it's the fucking hardest thing ever. Like I'm climbing fucking Mount Everest over here. Like, what could possibly be going wrong? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I want to tell you, nothing's wrong with you. You just haven't realized or been taught this source truth yet that we are diving into. So we see these other people who are really, really just sure of the things that we think they're sure of the things that they want in their life, and that's why they get them really easily. And you're like, wait, but maybe they have a few spiritual tools, but they don't have, or maybe they don't have any tools, but they just seem to be getting the lives they want. And you're like, what the fuck, man? I'm over here busting my ass every single day and nothing seems to be working. Well, we have you've heard me talk about that, having like a true desire, okay, that's authentic, okay, it's from your heart, on a soul level desire, okay, not a human want or a human desire, on a soul level desire. If you have a desire, that means it is in your blueprint, your soul makeup, your soul blueprint. It is meant for you to have. If you haven't heard me say this before, desire in Latin, it's a derivative meaning of the Father. So whether you believe in God, source, light, universe, whatever word resonates with you, we all know we have a parent energy, okay? And that parent energy and your soul, before coming here on earth, wrote in your soul blueprint this desire for you to feel and have, so that you could go set out to create it and accomplish it in your life. So anything, not a human want, but anything that is like a soul authentic desire that you have, it's already in your soul blueprint, and it's something that is guaranteed to be a possibility. Like that, guaranteed to be a possibility. That's a little bit of a mindfuck, okay? Guaranteed to be a possibility in this lifetime. Guaranteed to be a possibility. Those words are a little bit contradicting, but hear me out. It's definitely something that you should see if you can, not see if you can, but really go for in this lifetime. But this whole thing is really, really interesting. And it's something, again, the spiritual world misses. And it's been really, really watered down. And now you're not hearing the correct information about this. And human beings, like we also talked about, we make assumptions all of the time, okay? So we humans think that things that happen together are related, okay? And this has created a lot of fucking problems for us because we link things, and things that aren't actually linked, we start to link them. And I want to explain that the things that you are seeing other people achieve, they aren't what they seem. And what I mean by that is the immediate response in seeing people or in seeing somebody who has created the amazing perfect career or perfect money or perfect partner, perfect life, or all the followers on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. We decide that, oh, well, it's because they did this or it's because they're doing this. We link things and we make them related in our brain when they're actually not. And this happens a lot in the spiritual world. I find that higher frequency, higher conscious beings are always asking the question, what is it with fucking money, man? Why can't I figure it out? What is my deal with money? And you're like, why are people out here who have not done 1 ounce of inner work on themselves a day in their life making all this money, and I'm over here doing all this work? Where's the money? Where is it? And I hear it over and over again with the most intelligent, high conscious beings on a soul level who deserve the money, who are doing out here, doing God's work, if you will, and who deserve that money, So why are these other people, why do they have so much success with career and with wealth? But you're like, but I can't seem to make it happen for the life of me. And I have been here before. I have had this fucking turmoil and these breakdowns, and I have cried on my bathroom floor about it many, 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 many times. So, I was like, we're done with this. I've got to figure it out. So I figured it out, and now here we are. And I'm going to tell you, so you don't have to cry on your bathroom floor 20 million times before you have to figure it out. So why are these other people have so much success with career and money and finances and all of these things, but I can't seem to make it happen for me, right? Well, the first thing I want to get set straight is the fact that we actually we don't know behind the scenes what's actually going on, okay? Now, on a human level, we don't. Now, with intuition, we can lower the veil and we can begin to see what's actually going on and how these things are actually happening. Because we have the ability to see behind the scenes, because our brains are constantly going, well, that happened together, that's got to be related, it's actually not related, because when you pull down the veil, you can see how things relate. And what our humans think are related are actually usually not related at fucking all. Like, oh, they worked so hard, so they got this. We think that's related. Or, oh, they meditated every day, so they got this. Oh, that's related. It's usually 9.99999 out of 10 times not fucking related at all. And how we know that is when we pull down the veil. How we pull down the veil is with intuition, with a very, very well scientifically precise trained intuition. So what happens is, this happened for me too, like we get stuck. Okay. And we start to feel like, fuck, something's not working. So we start to look around. We start to look for inspiration. And we look around for people to help us. We look around for courses, for books, for podcasts, for whatever it is. And as an older soul, like you are, if you're called to listening to this right now, I'm 10 out of 10, you're an older soul. I've seen it be very, very hard to find other people to look up to, because being an older soul means that there's not many of you. And if your soul is older, then we can learn. Now, here's the thing. We can learn from everyone. There is genius in fucking everybody. We can learn just as much from a 2-year-old as we can an 80-year-old. We can learn just as much from the, homeless man on the street as we can Jesus Christ himself. There's genius in everyone. When it comes to the source truth of things and a source blueprint or a source outline of doing something, or a source process of doing something, the older souls have a harder time, because they're getting in life kind of a watered down version of that, or they're getting in life parts of it, but not like the full package. And so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, or you've seen it work for like 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 hours or 5 months or even 5 years, but then it stops working. Okay. And you're going to see why in a second. But when you are an older soul, the other older souls who are maybe even older than you are very few and far in between. So it becomes difficult to find, who do I actually go and learn this like source truth information from, because you can feel like all the things you're reading, they're good and they have great information, but when you implement all of them, you're like, something's missing or something's not right or this doesn't feel right. Trust that. Trust your intuition with that. There probably is something missing, and hopefully we can start to clear that up for you today. So it can become a lonely road a little bit. We also want to talk about as you're an older soul, you are going to go through and experience more frequent and more severe obstacles in this lifetime. Don't shoot the messenger, but as an older soul, you are going to experience more frequent and more severe obstacles throughout a lifetime. Okay. And I'm sorry. It's just how it is, but it's a good thing and you'll see why. That's going to weigh on you. And especially if you don't have emotional control, it's going to feel very, very, very heavy, and you're going to get defeated as the years go on. And it is going to make you want to look around at other people and see what they're doing. But what's going to happen is you're going to try and do what they're doing, and then you're going to feel even more stuck. So that's the same thing I used to fucking do. And I would think it was helping me, but it was actually fucking me up even more. So I would, before I knew what I knew today, I was constantly looking around. And I was always going what the fuck am I missing? I'm a hard fucking worker, man. I am out here. I have a lot of tenacity. I have a lot of drive. And I'm still fucking missing something, because these people with half my drive, half my talent, barely any tenacity are getting these things that I am doing the fucking most for. And a lot of that was based on the assumption that people are actually doing something and, and that people are actually intentionally creating these things that they're creating. And the human part idea is always to go, they've got it figured out. It worked for them. So if I do what they do, it's going to work for me. However, we're not actually looking behind the scenes. We're not pulling the veil down and seeing, is that actually what worked for them? Because it probably wasn't, right? Because remember, like we talked about, we are linking things that aren't actually linked. So when we don't look behind the scenes, we miss that maybe this was not the process that got them to where they are. When we look behind the scenes in a way that Source can see, okay? Source can see all records, all energy, all situations, all circumstances, all timelines, all everything. And when we look at things on a human level, we make an assumption that is only a human thing. So when somebody achieves something, we think they've achieved it. And they knew about the laws of the universe. They knew about manifesting. They knew the secrets of the universe that we don't know. And that must have been how we did it. So I've got to go learn from them because they know something I don't know. And in a very, very few and far between cases, yes, if they are teaching and channeling and reading the source truth and finding all the missing parts. But in most cases, they are talking about what worked for them. You think it's because they figured it out, but stay tuned. It might be, and a lot of times it is something different. So here's the problem. And I fell into this trap massively. And I would watch and I would get stuck. And I would watch and I would get stuck. And I would try and implement and I would get stuck. And I would do the most and I would get stuck. And I kept going, and I know you guys feel like this. How come them and not me? Why is things that I want that are not that fucking hard so impossible? And why is it just what seems to be failure after this didn't work, after this didn't work, after this didn't work, after this didn't work? And I'm like, what the fuck, man? And I know you can relate. And like we talked about, if you're an older soul, one of the things that you kind of don't have a choice on is that your higher self wants to essentially understand every single component of something. If you are a teacher, if you have that teaching energy, that leader energy, which I know you guys all do, then you probably have a higher self that wants to understand everything about everything that you are trying to figure out. Everything about this obstacle right now with career and finances that's in the way. And it's more than just the reoccurring soul lesson. It is a desire to want to have a mastery in how to make a creator field that can sustain the density in a good way of the career and finances, but also know how to create it, also know how to make a formula, A plus B equals C, and it works every time for everyone. Because what worked on a human level is not going to work for another human. But if you can get the source formula, then that is going to work for everyone. And when you can figure out all there is to know about the source formula, then you have a really, really great course or book on your hands, right? Of the source formula of whatever it is you are specifically working on toward in career and finances. So as you go on and you expand your consciousness, your higher self's going to go, okay, I know about 80% of how to create and manifest virality on social media. Let's just throw that one out there, okay? Oh, but your higher self's going to go, but there's 20% you don't know, bitch. And your higher self's going to go, you still don't know the 20%. Then your whole entire life is going to be filled with the 20% that you don't know about. You know what I'm saying? You can know 80% of something, but if you don't know the 20%, that's going to be in your face. And so you can know 80% of the source truth of the creator field ingredients, the emotional ingredients, the thought forms, the action steps, the feelings, the physical action that you need to have virality on social media, okay? But if you are missing 20% and your higher self desires to master it, you won't go viral even though you have 80%, okay? The 20% of you not knowing is going to be in your face because your higher self desires to master it. So you are, one, a master at it, and it does not fail ever, ever, ever again for you. And you don't have to have the what if, the highs and lows, the ups and downs. So benefits you. And then two, what a great fucking course. A literal source formula of the source truth on virality in social media. And it's going to work every time. Your testimonials are going to be great. Your course is going to pop off. You're going to help a lot of people. You're going to make a lot of money. It's working for you, even though it feels annoying because you're like, what the fuck, man? The person who knows actually 12% of virality and it was a sole plan to go viral is going viral, but I'm not because I'm missing 20%, but I know way more. I get it. It can feel frustrating. I'm going to dive into like what a soul plan means in a second, but it's benefiting you, trust me, because then you're not going to have the highs and lows, the ups and downs. You're going to know each time the formula, the source truth formula that has been proven to work. And now you can teach it, and now your testimonials are going to be fucking great every time because it's the source truth. So it's going to work for everyone who lives in the universe. Okay. So your whole life will be filled with that 20%. And then not that you could ever know it all. Well, when you get back to being source, you will, but not here. But anyway, we are constantly experiencing that 20% of how to, like, that we don't know, okay? We're constantly experiencing that 20% that we don't know. And that's the, like, what we would perceive as failure after failure after failure after failure. And then maybe we overcome that. So to give you an example of this, maybe it would be like, for me at one point, it was an understanding of money, okay? And I wasn't taught just like how you weren't taught that there are many, many components of money. And there's like maybe 4 or 5 major components of money that you learn out in the world. Or maybe you gather like 10, or maybe you gather 15, but then you need to like understand how to make them work. And then you're still missing a few. And then so you still can't get it. If your soul wants to master money, the 2%, maybe you have 90%, maybe you have 98% mastery over money. The 2% that you can't seem to fucking figure out is going to be in your face, and that will be what is stopping you. Okay. So it's can get very, very frustrating when you don't understand how this works and how your soul works on this level if you are a high conscious soul. And now the world is not built for super high conscious souls. So this information is going to be hard to find out there. So when you can intuitively look at things and you can open up your intuition and you can intuitively watch things and to essentially see behind the scenes, okay? And not that I know this because I've never taken any kind of plant medicine or anything, but like when people take mushrooms or ayahuasca, it drops the veil, right? You can do that without those things with intuition. You can drop the veil and you can open up your intuition at this new level. You no longer need things to thin or drop the veil. And as you open up your intuition and the veil drops, you can see everything. And you can measure everything too. You can know quantities of something. You can find the percentages like you hear me talk about. You can find out materials. You can find out ingredients, like we talk about ingredients for your creator field. And I had this feeling that I was fucked and everybody else was getting it. But when I'm able to drop the veil, the human veil, and see through the lens of source, you can start to ask a lot of questions and figure things out. Now, I am a very, very, very curious person. I would always ask my parents why. I was the why child, like, why? Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? And so now that energy's still there, now it just goes to source or goes to intuition or goes to my mentor, right? Everything's why. I'm always asking why. I'm always asking fucking somebody why. Whether it's source, my higher self, or my teacher, I'm like, why? So I asked why. I asked why a lot when the veil dropped and I started to see creation and manifestation for what it really is. So the assumption is that people are actually accomplishing things. Now, on a physical level, yes, sure, maybe they're accomplishing things, but they're still sort of like the luck that when preparation kind of meets opportunity, that moment in time where things happen, like there's that, but there is physical action, okay? So they are doing things, but it's not what you think. And that is like only about 30% of what you actually can do to create and manifest. What you're seeing these people do, they're only actually doing 30%. But the problem is that if you just do the 30% and you're a higher conscious soul who wants to master it and know everything there is to know, it won't work. And again, it won't work because it was in that person's soul plan to get that thing. Now, a soul plan and creation / manifestation are two very, very different things. A soul plan is your soul planned to get the career when you were 20 and all the money when you were 20. And let's say even virality when you were 20 years old. Okay, here's an example of a soul plan. A soul plan, by the way, is like a pendulum swing. Stuff gets really, really, really good, but then because the world has to be in balance, the universe has to be in balance because of the law of balance, it then goes the complete opposite way. So it looks really, really, really good, and then there's a crash. How many people have you seen come into all of this stuff, and then there's a crash, right? Look at anyone who was a Hollywood star, for example. Justin Bieber had all this really, really, really great stuff, crash. Demi Lovato had all this really, really great stuff, crash. Britney Spears had all this really great stuff, crash. Okay, I just want you to like notice this trend of a soul plan. Even influencers you may like had an era of popping off, and then it's like, where did they go, right? And on a human level, we think, oh, they're no longer, quote, relevant. Human thoughts, okay? So that is an example of a soul plan. A soul plan is a pendulum swing. A soul plan is the soul needs a lesson. The soul needs a lesson of this private jet and all this money actually didn't heal my self-image wounds. Okay. Shit. Now I need to go figure out how to do it. Versus creation / manifestation is going, I'm going to create things from a balanced place. I'm going to intentionally create things. I'm going to feel validated, like I'm the fucking best of the best, like I'm incredible at what I do, like I'm abundant, like I'm worthy, like I'm whatever the fuck, without anything external of me. I shift it internally. Well, now my creator field has these certain programs, has these certain ingredients in it. Now my creator field is going to create these things, but not from an out of balance place, from a balanced place. If we create something from a balanced place, what happens? There doesn't have to be a pendulum swing. The pendulum swing only happens because we're out of balance. We're too high, then we have to have a crash to get back into balance. If we create something from balance, there never has to be a crash because you created it from balance. There doesn't have to be a pendulum swing. And your soul, the high conscious soul that it is, it wanted to learn and master everything there is to know about the thing you're trying to create. Again, one, so you don't have to have it stop working one day and not be able to figure out what happened. Two, so you can always keep elevating what you've created now based on this creation. You're only going up from there. Three, you're going to be able to energetically hold the density in a good way of all of the massive things you're creating. And then three, you can help a fuck ton of people. And because of that, as a result, make a fuck ton of money because you have the formula that is bulletproof. Your testimonials will always be good. You will not have one single person go through your thing or read your book or listen to your podcast that doesn't have the tools to implement the thing. Now, of course, it's up to the person to do all those things and they can't blame you if they didn't do the things they have to do, but you will have the formula for them, that if they have the tenacity and if they implement the formula and commit to it, then it will work. That is a massive flex. So before you're like, Allie, what the fuck, man? Why didn't my soul just make this plan? Like Justin Bieber, or my favorite TikTok star. Why didn't my soul just make a plan like them and it'd be way easier for me? Trust me, you don't want their life. They're gonna have a crash if they haven't already. They're not gonna know or understand how to get back up to that level of success, and they don't feel very good on the inside. Trust me, I clock a lot of people's happiness levels; they're very low. So a soul plan is a soul going. When you're 20, you're going to get virality, $3 million in 1 year, and insane fame. Okay. From the human eye, it looks like, oh my God, they fucking figured it out at 20 years old. I'm 28. What the fuck is going on? What's wrong with me? Oh my God, cue the spiral. Now, I know that's what you're doing. I know that's what's going on here. I get it. I have been you. I have been in your shoes. I understand. You're talking about the girl, AKA cough, cough me, who when I moved to LA when I was 19, I would walk by, like in LA, they're filming things everywhere. So I'd walk by like somewhere outside where they were filming, and there would be signs of like quiet on set, filming, like don't cross here. I would cry. I would get insanely triggered crying because this was at the time when I was pro dancing, by the way. So I would get insanely triggered crying that I wasn't dancing on whatever it is that they were filming, or that I wasn't in it. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Why? How? And like, I get it. I have been there, okay, of the meltdowns like that. And like, why not me? Why not me? Why is this other like 20-year-old, getting all these things? Again, it's a soul plan thing. They didn't do anything essentially to get that. It was a soul plan. The soul created situations, circumstances, people that were going to naturally give them certain ingredients they needed to make that happen. They don't know what it is. If you ask them, they don't know how to break it down and give you the formula of how they did it. Okay. Real quick, I had to pause the podcast because I had to go do some other stuff. I was a little behind on time with doing the podcast. So I had to pause, go do some other stuff. Now I'm back. So if you are watching this video and it looks like I've moved a little bit or it's a little bit different, that's why we just took like a little bit of an intermission. Okay, but back to it. So like I was saying, they don't know how to break down the formula of how they did it when it is a soul plan. When someone just gets something through a soul plan, like I said, it's kind of like a soul signing up for something to then teach a bigger lesson. So it's like, okay, the soul's like, okay, when you are 23, I am going to put you in the right places, in the right situations, in the right circumstances, around the right people, around the right things, to set up in your creator field the correct ingredients to then get this thing, okay? But the person still does not fully know how they got it. It could even be stuff with like manifesting. The soul could have a plan of, okay, I'm going to put this person, I'm gonna put a desire in this person. And I'm going to put this person in front of the certain books, in front of the certain podcasts, in front of the certain teachers, in front of the certain things that they need to hear to implement certain things into their creator field. And then I'm going to then create this big thing from it. Well, then when you ask the person, oh my gosh, how did you manifest this big thing? They tell you a few things, but then when you try to do that same process that they told you, it doesn't work for you. That is a good telling sign that that person who might even think that they have manifested it, because they manifested, part of it, or they put certain things, they got certain things right, but their soul plan kind of took care of the rest. And when their soul plan takes care of the rest, They even might think they can fully tell you how they got there. But if they fully tell you how they think they got there, you implement that and and don't lie to yourself. Like if you half-assed it, don't lie to yourself. But if you gave it your all and you implemented it and you were working on that night and day and like did everything you needed to do to implement that, and you didn't get the same results that they did at the same speed that they did, then that's a good telling sign that, and now not all the time, because you don't want to, it would be hard to say. Like I would have to personally look at you and be like, did you try 100%? Like, did you do that 100%? Did you take all those tools 100% and do it? So don't go blame anyone you've learned anything from, be like, it didn't work. But I'm just saying, if you are someone who has been, and you're self-aware enough to know that you've really, really, really been implementing it and doing it and like having the tenacity and like doing everything they're saying to do, and it's just not like, you're just not getting results. You're getting results, but you're not sure like how you got them because they're in and out. Like sometimes you'll get results and then sometimes you won't. It's a good telling sign that person who is teaching you, manifesting money or creating of something, it was part of their soul plan to create that same thing. So yes, they did learn and they did implement things they learned and they did learn tools, but the speed of it and how quick it happened, and if they're missing things that you can't miss if you're desiring to actually fully learn everything there is to learn about what you want to create and manifest, it was part of a soul plan. Now, I'm going to say something. You're like, Allie, this hasn't been triggering yet. Like, where's the triggering part? I'm going to say something that this rocked my world and belief system a little bit. But then after that first initial shock of it, you are going to feel so much better. If you hear my dogs barking, they're outside barking at a truck. They think they're protecting us, and I just let them keep thinking you're protecting us. Great job. They think it's like a big monster coming. So if you hear that in the background, they're paid actors of the podcast today. Okay. So I'm going to say something that can definitely be a little rocking when you first hear it, but it is actually very, very, very difficult to surprise the higher self. And surprise the higher self would be essentially manifesting and creating something that your higher self didn't already plan for you to do. So when people on TikTok or whatever are talking about like, oh, I manifested this, I manifested that, I manifested this thing, I manifested this thing, unless they have taken the time to dive in, look at the source truth on manifesting, pull in all the source tools on creation, pull in the right ingredients, pull in the right emotional thought broadcasts, pull in the right action steps, and pull in the right universal laws and understand all the universal laws and how it works, it was probably a soul plan that they created that. And yes, their soul had to line up the perfect places and perfect situations to give them the right not even knowledge, but ingredients. But if they're not understanding and learning and knowing what exact formula it was a soul plan. Like if someone might think they have a formula and then they say the formula and then you're like this driven, tenacious person and you're doing it to a T, and again, be self-aware. Like if you haven't done it to a T, you can't, don't go blame just people and be like, it didn't work. But if you have just really, really done it and tried and had so much tenacity behind every single step, and then you still weren't getting all the results, it's a telling sign that there's missing pieces. Of course, what they're saying worked, but there's missing pieces. It's not the full story. The full story was a soul plan. But actual creation and manifestation is two things. One, you can take a timeline in your soul plan and you can speed it up. So if you are supposed to, let's say you're supposed to write a New York Times best-selling book when you are 60 years old, right? because by then you will be taken through life to get the right ingredients to then get the book to do well. Well, creation/manifestation, one of the ways you can use it is to speed that up. So let's say you're 28 now and you're like, fuck that, I want that in 2 years or a year or 6 months, right? You can do that with the right tools. How? Great question. I'm glad you asked. Essentially, everything is ingredients in your creator field. You get the right ingredients, you get the right action, and action is a part of those ingredients, okay? Creator field is made up of our thoughts, our beliefs, our aura, our EMF field, the physical actions we take, our subconscious, our conscious. Our creator field is made up of a lot of things, including the physical actions we take, including our emotions and thoughts and belief systems, which we're going to dive in today. So let's say that when you are 60, it is in your soul poll, when she's 60, she's going to get the book deal. Well, your soul, your higher self, soul and higher self are different, sorry. Your higher self is going to orchestrate a bunch of times in your life that are going to kind of force you to get the right ingredients that you need emotionally to then get that book deal by the time you're 60, because it is in your soul plan. And again, remember what I said about, soul plan is it is a possibility that happens with the certain tools. So let's say you crawl under a rock and then you never get these tools. Well, the soul plan isn't happening. The soul orchestrates certain things, right? So you're supposed to get a book deal when you're 60, okay? It's in your soul plan. But you're 28 now, you're like, what the fuck, man? I want a book deal in a year. Well, we got you. We can do that. Why it's in your soul plan to happen when you're 60 is because your higher self has orchestrated, let's say even from now until 40 years old, your higher self is going to orchestrate things to get you to be a match, to be a book deal, okay? And it's going to be the first step of that. So for example, think of the things you emotionally have to feel and ingredients you would emotionally have to put into your creator field to be a match to, I'm saying book deal, but yes, get a book deal, but also be a New York Times best-selling author. Okay, so to get both of those things, well, you'd have to feel like your work is incredibly special and unique. You'd have to feel like you are the best of the best. You would have to feel like whatever you have to say is essential to the world. And there's a bunch of ingredients emotionally that you would have to feel and plug into your creator field for this. Now with what we do here, we can just look intuitively on what ingredients you would need for this, and we can plug them in now. We can speed up the timeline, the soul plan of the book deal. The only reason the book deal and the New York best time selling book would take till you're 60 is because you don't have the right ingredients yet in your creator field to get that. So, for example, let's say it takes you from, let's say you're 28, it takes you from now until 40 to understand that you are special and unique. And how you have to understand that is maybe you have to go through a bunch of different times of people breaking up with you. Maybe you have to go through a bunch of different times of people not buying what you're selling, to so many different times to the point of where the law of opposing forces has to kick in. If someone's telling you you're not something so much, you're finally going to get so fucking annoyed about it. You're going to finally start to believe that you are the best. If someone's telling you if you're constantly getting these reflections of other people are better, other people are more special, other people are more unique than you, you're eventually going to get so fucking pissed that because of the law of opposing forces, which is if you're getting one way of the spectrum, you're going to have to be the opposite way to balance it out, right? So if everyone's telling you you're not special, unique, you're not the best, you're not this, and maybe they're not telling you that, but maybe they're showing you that through their actions, right? You're eventually going to get so pissed of not feeling like you're put first, not feeling like you're special and unique, not feeling all of these things, that you will finally, law of opposing forces, go the opposing side and finally be like, fuck it, I am all these things, damn it. Now, but that might take from when you're 28 until 40, until you finally hit that cap of enough people showing you actions of making you continue to not feel special and unique, and what you have to say is good enough for you to finally get that. Okay? Then let's say when you're 40, now that you get that, your soul has to orchestrate now getting told no a bunch of times. Why? Because each time you get told no, you're going to get new emotional ingredients. So let's say the first time you get told no on the book deal, well, then you get like, you're like, what the heck? Like it knocks your confidence down. Then the second time you get told no, it knocks your confidence down a little more. Then the third time you get told no, you kind of give up for a little bit. Then you're like, no, fuck it. I'm finally going to fucking believe in myself. Well, then you finally start to fucking believe in yourself and you finally start to feel like you're the best of the best. Well, now because you got told no all those times, you're finally like, fuck it. I'm going to believe myself. I'm going to not rely on anyone else to tell me who I am. I'm going to just trust and believe in myself and feel like I'm the best without anyone else having to give me external validation on that. Well, now your soul is got the lesson. Now your soul is like, okay, she gets it. She understands that she doesn't need anyone outside of her to tell her she's incredible and the best of the best. She needs to feel that way. And then the world outside of her will follow suit. Well, so then maybe that's like 20 years of getting told no to then figure that out. So then she figures it out. Then, you then go and you get the book deal. And then because you have all these incredible ingredients that your higher self had a plan to line you up for, now you also have a New York Best Time selling book. But that would be like not knowing these tools, okay? Not knowing these tools, that's how it would have to happen if something was in, it was supposed to happen for you, okay? So how we can use creation/manifestation are two different ways. One, we can use it to speed up that plan. We can actually gather there's ways and tools and processes, even if you don't have intuition. I use my intuition to figure these out and do these in myself, but I have also used my intuition to find a process and a formula to do this, even if you aren't training your intuition and intuitive tools. There is a way and a process and a formula from source that you can actually speed up that soul plan, okay? So you can speed it up by pretty much, and I have a whole formula for this, but like to sum it up, pretty much it's not pretty much, there's a pretty big formula for this, but the Spark Notes is you're pretty much going, what would I have to feel like to have a best-selling New York Best Time selling book? What would I have to feel like to get a book deal? What thoughts would I have to have about myself to get a book deal? And you can plug those emotions and those thoughts in now. You don't have to wait for your higher self to orchestrate all of these things, no after no after no, after getting kicked in the ass, after getting kicked in the ass, after getting kicked in the ass, for you to finally like law of opposing forces be so done with the world that then you like just force yourself to believe in yourself to then get the right ingredients to create that thing. And then not even know how you did it. Like if someone was like, oh my God, how'd you get this book deal? You wouldn't fully know and be aware of like the exact processes. You wouldn't be able to fully teach it to other people. Like you would just be like, oh, I believed in myself and I didn't listen to no. When it was like so much more than that. There were so many emotional ingredients that got plugged into your field, but you did not know about it. So when we are intentionally creating and manifesting, which this is one of the ways is speeding up the soul plan. The other way we'll talk about in a second. When we're using it to speed up something, we can pull in like, okay, what emotions would I have to feel to get this? What thoughts would I have to feel? What actions would I have to take? And it's like, I have a whole formula for this, but essentially Spark Note version, very, 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 very short Spark Note version is that you implement and plug those emotions and thoughts into your creator field. You rewire your brain. And then within a year or even less, you can go get the book deal. You just took something that was going to take, really bad at math, like 30 something years, and you compacted it into a year. That's the power of the source formula that you can do. So that's one way that you can create in the way that source does. Another way that you can create in the way the source does is by actually surprising your higher self. And when I intuitively look in, there are very, 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 very few people in the world who have actually manifested, that's actually surprised the higher self. Okay? Meaning you have now manifested something that was not in the soul plan. It was not a sped up thing from your soul plan. It was actually manifested from thin air in the same way with the same formula that Source uses to create. The same formula that Source uses to create the universe, you, the trees, the ocean, all of the things is the same formula that you can have access to and use to manifest and create something that was not in higher self plan, that surprises the higher self. It's a very, very rare thing. Most people are not doing it. Most people are getting a soul plan thing and or they are speeding up a timeline and then not fully sure how they fully did it. And then so they can't fully teach you. And then so you try and do that process. And then you're like, there's missing pieces of that process. The process isn't wrong, I'm sure, but there's missing pieces of the process. I mean, it depends who you're going to. Like, I'm sure some people's processes out there are just like wrong. But I'm sure there's been processes that are like correct and right, but they're missing pieces. It's not fully, the full process isn't there. So it can be triggering because you can be like, no, Allie, I manifest stuff all the time. Yes, but your soul planned it. Make sense? So your soul planned for you to get the right ingredients that you needed to do to then get that thing. And then if you try to duplicate it or replicate it again and it doesn't work, that's a telling sign you didn't fully consciously create it. It's kind of like, because I used to have this. I used to literally have this problem of when I first started to, my opinion was of make money in my business, which was around like $11K a month. I had that going on for a while. Like I would make anywhere between like $11K to like $16K months, I'd say, for a while. Well, then one day, 8 months later from doing that, everything just tanked for a minute. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, what is going on? And this is what actually led me to this fucking realization that I've had and that I'm sharing with you today is I had certain ingredients, but I didn't have all of them. So I got the thing and I got it going, but then I didn't fully know how to sustain it / keep it moving up because I was missing pieces. And so it wasn't that I was wrong in what I was doing to create that, but I was missing pieces. And then it led me to like dive down this whole deep rabbit hole of wait, how come people like doing half of this though are getting like all of these other things and making way, way, way more money and having way, way, way more, what I would deem as like quote success, like human level success. And I began to realize, like people are just having a soul plan thing and they couldn't tell you how they did it or how they got there. And then remember, a soul plan is like a pendulum swing. So like a perfect example is just like a Justin Bieber or Demi Lovato or Selena Gomez or a Miley Cyrus or any of that. Like they have this like peak of their career, but if you ask them like how they got there, they wouldn't be able to tell you a formula because it was just in their soul plan. Like their soul just put them in the right places at the right times to understand the right things to get there. It wasn't like an intentional creation. If you're not doing intentional creations or intentional speeding up of timelines, you literally have no idea how you did it, which means you cannot replicate it again, which means you're going to have these like highs and lows when it comes to creation on a career and financial level. And then also, everyone here is a teacher and they're not going to be able to teach it in the way where they are going to get the best results. And then they're going to be seen as the best because they're getting the best results because they're not going to know exactly how they did it. They're going to think they know how they did it, but they're missing a lot of pieces. When you use the source formula of creation, you can speed up a timeline. You can either speed up a timeline or you can create something out of thin air that was never in your soul plan anyway, which is like a whole process that, we get into in like intuition level 3 and 4. We'll get into if we ever do like an advanced course on career stuff, we'll get into it. But those are the two ways. And if you to manifest and create, and you can get the source formula, know exactly how you did it, so you can duplicate it, replicate it, keep doing it, And then you can teach others the exact formula. And then that exact formula is going to have a high success rate because it's the source formula. And the source formula works for, of course, everyone. Combined with like learning universal laws and implementing those apply to and work for everyone, well, in the universe. So after figuring out why like manifestation and creation wasn't working the fullest way, it was working, but not in the way that I wanted it to for me, diving into why, I want you to think about riding a bike. Like you've ridden a bike before, right? And I want you to ask yourself, like, how does a bike work? You'd probably be like, yeah, I just like get on it and I pedal it and then the wheels move and then it goes. And if I press the brakes, it stops. And then if I kick the little kickstand, it stays standing up and it doesn't roll away or doesn't fall over. Yes, that's part of how a bike works. And if I asked you to draw the bike, almost probably like 9 out of 10 people would draw the bike and miss a bunch of missing pieces. So like what happens when they draw the bike? Like, do you think when they draw the bike, if they would make that exact replica of their drawing, the bike would work? Or do you think it wouldn't work? So people have this understanding of what else do we use? Like a stove. If I asked you how a stove worked, you'd be like, oh yeah, you turn the thing on and then the fire comes out and then you put your pot on top. Yes, but that's not all the intricacies of how a stove is made and how a stove works. So if your stove broke or you didn't know what was going on with it and I asked you to go fix the stove, you wouldn't know how to go fix the stove because you don't know everything there is to know about the stove and you don't know how things work together and wires and this, that, and the other thing. So it's the same thing with the bike. If I were to ask you and sit down and draw the bike, the chain wouldn't be connected to the right place. The brakes wouldn't be there or you'd forget about them. And you wouldn't know how to put the axles like in the tire or like things just wouldn't be right. And unless like obviously you're like a bike master, then just put yourself in this position of like something else you're not a master of, right? Something else you don't know how to do. Like you wouldn't really fully know how it went. Like something would be insanely mechanically wrong with your stove or the bike if you were to try and like build it out yourself and you are not a master of the stove or the bike. If you're a master of the stove or the bike, think of something else you're not a master of. You get the point. So this is one of our imbalances is that if we don't take time to, a lot of us don't take time to fully understand the inner workings of something. And this is what manifestation has been, okay? Thousands of mistakes in my own life to figure out like what's been missing and a lot of question asking and a lot of searching for the source formula and source answers. And like, what is the missing piece? And then this really like cool realization happened is manifestation is a lot of moving pieces. And honestly, it can be a really actually daunting process. Like I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, but if you take the time to figure out each little piece, how it works, how you benefit, what goes where, connecting this to that, like, oh, when I do this, this happens, when I do that, this happens. Oh, what's missing here? Let's dive into that. If you take the time to understand exactly how it works and knowing every like nook and cranny of it, that is where like the creativity gets to come in. And it's not now about how to do it. It's about what can I tweak and how can I add on more. So you're going to always know the exact piece that is wrong and you're going to be able to fix it when you understand how this works. And I'm talking about manifestation right now in regards to career and finances because that's like the era we are in. And another thing that you'll be able to influence and make happen is time, right? So like I said, instead of getting the dream book deal and New York Best Time Selling thing when you're 60, you can speed it up and get it a year from now or 6 months from now with the correct tools and ingredients. Or if you really, really want something and it's not in your soul plan, you can understand how to get the correct formula to still create that thing. In an advanced version of this, which if we did like a course ever on this or whatever, like a full-blown course, we go in and figure out that there is a formula for how to manifest and create both things that aren't even in your soul path and speed up timelines drastically, and not even just by a few years, like drastically speed up years and years and years and years of timelines. Do you get that? Like the speeding up the timeline thing. The book deal, you're supposed to get it when you're 60, right? Only reason why it's that far out is because if you didn't have the hack, it would take you literally that long to just naturally finally believe in yourself and naturally get the right emotional things that you would need to feel to be able to get your creator field right to make that happen. Make sense? But you can hack that by understanding the source formula of speeding up timelines in career and finances. And you can speed up the timeline by implementing the ingredients emotionally, the thoughts, the actions now, and then it's all other parts of the formula. And then you can get what would take, 30 something years in a few months. That's how we can use this stuff to hack the system. Now, not only have you hacked the system, but you also know how you did it. If you were to wait till you were 60 to get the book deal, again, you wouldn't know exactly how you did it because you were kind of just letting life happening to you. I don't really like to let life happen to me. I prefer to make life my bitch. I prefer to be in a radical responsibility and radical control of my life so I can have a full grip on life and not just to have things happen as like an accident or just like as a soul plan thing that I could have sped up. I'm going to be like, wait, what do I actually need to create that now? And I'm going to implement that and take radical action and radical responsibility and create that now. Okay? Because yes, getting a book deal when you're 60 is like super fun and great, but you could get a book deal now and then have 25 different best time selling book by the time you were 60, right? And you would probably feel a lot less stuck too because you understand like, oh my gosh, this is what's been my block. You're going to feel stuck and blocked the whole time because you're not going to exactly know what you need to do to get there. And you're going to naturally, as people keep telling you no and no and no after no, in your 40s are telling you no and your 50s are telling you no. Eventually, you're going to get just so fed up that you're going to believe in yourself. Or you could get the right ingredients to just believe in yourself now and can bypass all of those years. I just want to really make sure the speeding up the timeline makes sense. Okay. So right now when you start something new, like you feel like that it sucks, right? Like whenever we start something new, like it just sucks, like it's not really fun. Like think about like if you've ever gone, if you've ever learned like a backflip or you've ever played tennis or you've ever gone like, I think about skiing because the first time I went skiing, I was falling everywhere. Funny story. My friends took me up to like this medium-sized hill the first time I've ever had skis on in my life. They're like, okay, Allie, just go down the hill. Never had a lesson, never anything. I just went down the hill, didn't know how to stop myself, had to fall to stop myself. Anyway, it was not fun, but then I got the hang of it and now it's enjoyable. So when you do something new, my point is it sucks. And then you keep doing it and then you're like, okay, wait, this is fun. Like tennis, for example, not very fun to learn at first. But then once you start to get good, like it becomes a lot of fun and you can start to correct your form and oh, I need to bend my knees more here. I need to swing my racket more this way here. I need to not dip my racket down this low. And you start to be able to self-correct and learn more. But it sucks at first, okay? Like it's not like learning nothing new is fun at first. Learning a backflip at first. Remember the first time tried to learn backflips in like middle school, it fucking sucked. I was falling on my head. It hurts. It's not fun. But the more you try, the more you're like, oh, okay, I have to do this backflip. I have to have my knees tucked up. I have to have my core held. I have to have my eyes looking back. And there's all these different things and different formulas to do the perfect backflip. So it sucks at first, but then you know how to do it and then it gets fun. So same thing with manifestation. It's a massive learning curve, but anything worthwhile, you have got to put your hours into, okay? So we're in this land of like the higher self route is the easy route. That is the complete opposite from the truth. If you take the higher self route, it's going to be the hardest fucking shit you've ever done in your life. I'm not kidding you. And I have a whole podcast episode coming on that next. Like that will be episode 3 of this little series we're doing of thriving in career and finances with your creator field. But the higher self route, little preview to episode 3, is the hardest route. It's not the easiest route. We've been duped. You have been duped by the TikToks and the videos saying, oh, if it's meant to be, it's easy, it will be. No. The higher self route, the massive soul mastery route, is going to be the hardest route you've ever decided to fucking take in your whole entire life. It's just, that is how it is designed to be. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. But it is the most rewarding route. It is the most creator field control and creative control you have over your life route. Okay. It's the most fun route once you go through the first few weeks of it and start to really, really learn the intricacies of manifesting and creating this way. Because this is a formula that works every time versus like a little thing of like, oh, just, write this thing under your pillow and sleep with it, or like write this down, or like write yourself a check. Like maybe that's like 2% of something, but there's so much that is missing from that. You don't even have to write yourself a check if you have the right emotional ingredients in you. So it's hours of labor. It's like learning a backflip. Okay. There's like 16 things that you can think that you have to think about, and then you have to do. And then you have to do all of these different things, and make sure your eyes are looking back, and make sure your core is tucked, and make sure you're jumping up and not back. And if not, it doesn't work. Or if not, it's just, or if you don't do that, it's just a coincidence that it worked one time, but then you don't know how to replicate it. Like you did the backflip one time and you're like, how the fuck did I do that? I don't know how to do it again. That's kind of like what happens in life of like, if you're like maybe creating these things, or like other people are creating these things, but they can't fully tell you how they did it. Or they are, and it feels like something's got to be missing, or you've created something, but you can't duplicate it or replicate it or like make it more. It's because you don't fully know how you did it. You don't fully know how you did it because it was part of your soul plan to get that thing for a bigger lesson. Maybe the lesson is to fully understand manifestation. Maybe the lesson was to realize the private jet's not going to make you feel any more special or heal your mother wounds. Maybe it was to realize the incredible business that the soul had planned to have when you pop off when you were 17 and get all of these Instagram followers was to make you even more anxious and realize that was never going to heal your anxiety. So you could actually heal your anxiety. There's so many different reasons why a soul would choose a soul plan that from the human looks like success. But when you lower the veil, you're like, holy fuck, it's a soul plan. And they feel worse than ever. They feel worse than they ever fucking did. So if you don't put it all together and you don't fully learn how to all the different nooks and crannies and intricacies, then it doesn't fully work. It's a painful process at the beginning. However, you start to get really good at going in and looking at your manifesting technique. And you know every single thing that makes it work. You can learn to diagnose. You know what I mean? Like if you're a master at fixing your stove, if your stove is acting funny, you can know which part's acting off. You can connect the wires back. You can fix your own stove. This is the key to career and finances really, really, really kicking off. The process gets complicated, but I have shortcuts. And we can streamline it all for you, if we desire to really go advanced, but we've got to understand this first. If you don't feel like you've got that's already preventing the floodgates from opening. Like if you don't feel like, I've got this, I have the power. If I get the right formula and the right tools, then I have the power to create anything. If you don't feel like that already, it is stopping you from creating what you're wanting to create. So first you've got to feel like I got this. First, you've got to feel like I can fucking do this. And until you feel like I can fucking do this, we can't move on. We can't go advanced, because we can go advanced and learn all this shit. But if you don't feel like it's possible, you're blocking off the floodgates from opening. Okay. when you understand and can understand, when I am just given the right formulas and tools, I fucking got this. When that resonates and you can emotionally feel that deeply, then you're ready for the advanced actual formula and actual things. But we've got to understand that first. And then already feeling like I've got this, it's going to drop so much of the stuck feeling. So nothing's wrong with you. In fact, you are probably just a high frequency soul that desires to master this kind of thing. And it desires to know everything there is to know. And maybe you know 70%, maybe you know 90%, maybe you know 98%, but that 2% or 20% or 30% or 50% or whatever percent you don't know is going to be in your fucking face. It is going to be thrown in your face until you do it. Until you do it. Okay? So until you understand everything there is to know about it, because your soul desires for mastery, remember, I used to get so annoyed of like, what the fuck? Like, why does someone else get a soul plan at 17 to pop off on TikTok for just dancing? And now they can have they can do whatever they want, have all these businesses, and it's just gonna be good. Like, why didn't that happen to me? Right? What the fuck, soul? And it's like, no, because that person doesn't know how they did that, number one. Number two, that was a soul lesson and a soul plan. And they're going to have a pendulum swing. If they haven't fucking already, right? They're going to have a crash. They don't know how to sustain it, and they won't know how to get back there. And they'll never be able to help people on how to do it because they couldn't tell you how they did it. If you're listening to this, you are a teacher at your core. You are a teacher on a soul level, whether it's going to just be teaching your children, one person, or 3 billion people. You are a teacher at your core. And you're a high conscious soul who desires to know everything there is to know, not just for other people's benefit, but for your own benefit. For you to know the exact formula on how to keep creating, sustaining, and creating again and again and replicating the career and financial success that you deeply desire. It is a good thing. Trust me, I would take this and knowing how to do it any day, any fucking day over a soul plan that I didn't know how I got there, that I didn't know how to replicate, that I would have to be learning like a really, really shitty soul lesson in and have to have a crash, right? I would take this any fucking day over that. I promise you. I have been able to speed up many, 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 many things in my life. And I've been able to actually create a project I'm working on. It was not in the soul plan, but I was able to create and manifest it happening out of thin air, which is really fucking cool. And I wasn't going to really teach this stuff until like I have seen on many, many times over and over again on myself and on like mentorship students it work. And it has. So I'm really excited to be talking about it. I hope this helps clear stuff up for you around soul plan versus intentional creation, around even if someone like on TikTok is like, oh yeah, I manifested this, like it was probably in their soul plan too. And because then if you do the exact steps they told you, and I don't want to make it someone else's fault that something wasn't working for you, because I'm all about radical responsibility, and I want us to be self-aware of like, yeah, maybe I didn't fully implement everything they said, or maybe I wanted it to be easier than it actually is, right? So I don't want to like blame someone else for something not working for you. But if they can't get other people to get the results that they have, and even faster, because it should be faster because they weeded out what worked and what didn't work, then they probably don't fully know how they actually manifested it. It was probably part of the soul plan. Like the money of the career was probably to teach them that it was never going to heal their self-image imbalances. And it's going to make their self-images imbalance worse. And then they're going to have to eventually heal them. Like you can't outrun them. I've seen many people come to me with from the human perspective, incredible careers and incredible financial situations. Many, many people have come to sessions with me, and they are riddled with anxiety. They are depressed. Their self-image is in the toilet. They don't unconditionally love themselves. And telling signs that what they've created was from a soul plan, right? And I can see intuitively that was a soul plan, so then they would even feel even worse about themselves, and then would finally heal like what their soul came in to have them heal and shift and learn the lessons of in this lifetime. So my thing is, why the fuck manifest a fucking, Lamborghini if you're going to fucking sit there and be depressed in it? Like, we're not going to sit here and just manifest, or why manifest the fucking incredible business if you're going to sit there and be like sad and still doubt yourself? Like, that's not fun to me. My thing is get balanced, get the right emotional ingredients first, get the right thought broadcast first, and create it from an intentional place of how source creates with the source formula, and create from a balanced place. That's why self-image is like the key to a lot of things. And then you're creating it from a balanced place, which means there is no pendulum swing, because there is no like deep rooted soul lesson to learn on like how to believe in yourself or how to unconditionally love yourself, because you created it from a place of that already. So this episode can get a little bit heady and convoluted. If there's confusion, that means I didn't fully explain it the best way. So if there is confusion, you let me know. We will clarify anything. But I'm very excited for you to hear this episode. It's going to hopefully help you feel so much better, because I know I was feeling fucked for a while, just like in this comparison route. And then I realized, oh my God, I actually am here to go figure out how it actually fully works, find the source formula, and then get incredible results for myself, know how to replicate them, but then also be able to help other people get incredible results with this too. Your testimonials, if you go and like figure out this formula and then teach it or help other people with using it, are going to be out of this world. I get really, really, really cool testimonials from these formulas. So I can't wait to share more with you. But first, we have to understand these concepts before we go advanced. One last thing is, there is now a waitlist open for a 2-hour workshop. It's called the Career Advantage. The workshop's not open yet. It's just a waitlist. However, I'm really excited about it. I've gotten so many cool reviews and fun DMs after even just the first podcast episode, the one right before this one. And I was like, fuck it, let's just do like a 2-hour course and we can get into some of the intro steps to this formula. So I'm really excited about it. The waitlist is going to be linked in the show notes for you. Get on it. The workshop isn't open yet, but it's 2-hour live workshop over Zoom. It's going to be in January, and I'm really excited about it. So get on the waitlist, and I will see you in the next episode of this series. We are going to be diving more into how tenacity is essential, and the higher self route is not the easiest route. It's actually the hardest route, but why it's the most rewarding and why we should take it anyway. Let me know once you listen to this, DM me, let me know your thoughts. Share this with a friend that you think would like it, and I will see you in the next episode.